This video is sponsored by Formentera Kitesurf, Brunori and Ibiza Wingfoil. The recommended equipment for learning would be a board of 130 or 140 liters, depending on whether you weigh between 60 and 85 kilos. Next, we would move on to a foil of 1800 or 2200, also depending on your weight, and a mast of 45, maximum 60 centimeters. You would also use a 6 meter or 5 meter wing, depending on your weight, but I wouldn't overthink the equipment too much. I would go with the largest possible size because it will make learning much easier for you. Later, it will be very easy to sell since the second-hand market is booming right now and it will be snapped up quickly. Alright, let's start with assembling the foil first. This is an inflatable board, so it only has 4 connections. It doesn't have a track, and there are just 4 screws that will attach to the top mast, which is the base that connects to the mast. Once the base is cleaned well, we're going to attach the foil by aligning the top mast with the screws and putting them in one by one. Remember that the thin part of the mast must go at the back if you haven't attached the foil yet. If you first connect the top mast to the mast and then the foil, remember that the thin part has to go at the back. Alright, now let's look at the mounting on the rigid board. We can see here that we already have the 2 tracks. These tracks are universal, and as you can see, they have a small plate that attaches to the screw, and this in turn attaches to the track in this way. And this allows the connection between the board and the top mast. Once we have the top mast installed and secured to the board, we'll place it in the most forward position. This will make it easier for us to get flying as quickly as possible. Alright, now let's move on to the sail. To inflate the sail, we first need to check which direction the wind is coming from. Once we've taken it out of the backpack, we're going to unroll it always with the wind at our backs. Once the foil is laid out on the sand, we're going to close the strut valve first. Once the valve is closed, we're going to take the leash attached to the pump and connect it to the sail. This will prevent the sail from flying away when it's very windy. Next, we're going to connect the pump to the inflation valve. One thing we really need to keep in mind is that each sail has a different valve. So before buying a pump, we should make sure to check which valve is the right one for the sail. When inflating, it's very important that we use the pressure specified by the manufacturer. In this case, we have 8 psi and we need to inflate it exactly as specified. If we don't reach the ideal pressure, the sail won't work because the tips will open up and we'll lose all the power when pumping. Once inflation is finished, we're going to place the sail on the board. Remember one thing, the board should always be upwind, that is on the windward side, and the sail should always be downwind or on the leeward side. This way, we avoid the foil rubbing against the sail and tearing it. Remember that before going into the water, we always have to attach a leash to the board. Usually, leashes are already included with the sails. On the boards, no. Well, thank you very much for staying until the end, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and we'll see each other in the next video. Bye.